Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for that opening, Jen and George.
That looks amazing. I want to go.
So much fun. I'm sure I thought people's feet were already hurting, so now they're going to do an amazing race on top of all of the walking at Infocom. Like, that's going to be really...
That's a strong move.
Yes.
Very strong. Good luck to the teams.
Wonderful. So Sarah, Ben, and I are so happy that you've joined us again on Avixa TV, live at Infocom. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We're so excited to be joined by two industry pros from one of Avixa's great partners, Chris Neto and Jeff Barnes of Midwich. Chris and Jeff, thank you guys so much for coming to our show.
Thank you for having us.
Hopefully your feet are okay. I heard Midwich had a nice little soiree, little party last night.
We did our first, I guess not first, our big event of the year.
Okay.
Our Infocom party was something to put in the record books. We had our dancing shoes on, we had our drinking shoes on,
Yes.
I guess goggles on, however you want to say it, but we did have a good time. It was awesome. Thank you all the sponsors that were part of it, but more importantly, the community came out in droves, and we burst through our expected amount very quickly, and we had an amazing time, and thank you all for showing up, and Avixa for being part of it. Thank you.
Yes, no, it's always great. And that's the wonderful thing about Infocom. You have so many events like that you're able to connect, and you make additional connections through other friends. So it was a wonderful event. Kudos to you guys. Yeah, you literally broke through the restaurant. So, so if we're going to shift, I know that we're seeing a shift post-pandemic in terms of basic video conferencing to more broadcast quality conferencing experiences, and people are having different expectations. So can you just touch a little bit about that shift that you're seeing, and how is that evolution, how is it changing the audience expectations for those experiences?
So the shift that we're talking about actually started in the middle of the pandemic. People were sent home, did not have the ability. Some folks, we discovered very quickly that they did not have laptops. They were still using desktop PCs. How do you take this and become a remote worker? We saw an unpreparedness from corporate America to do this. Small, medium business, even the larger ones. Some of them just had, little nooks at their, offices and a screen. So how did they transport that? And what happened was everybody went home. And at first, the PC with the built-in camera was kind of cool. It did the job, and then it evolved. And I'm not going to go through the steps of the evolution, and we all got past that, but something changed along there, and what we're seeing now a couple years later is this ability for people to feel comfortable in front of the camera. The pandemic taught us to turn the camera on.
Right.
And what we have now seen from the manufacturers as well is that not only did they all jump in on the USB conversation with USB cameras, but you saw an improvement in the quality of the cameras, the glass that's being used, the sensors that have gotten bigger, better, and this special sauce that goes into all these cameras is doing things magically that weren't done before. So that initial fear of video conferencing remote was the big thing. Unfortunately, what has happened since the pandemic as well is that the return to office has not gone as planned. There's still a lot of people still trying to figure out how to bring those people back. But what hasn't changed is that video is still accepted and widely used. So what we're getting now is, I've done video conferencing, I want to do it better from my house. I want to do it better on the road. Our Wi-Fi and internet has been spectacular in that sense, like unless you're dealing with like hotel Wi-Fi, which is always kind of spotty to begin with, or convention center Wi-Fi. I had to drop that there because my phone has been horrible this week.
No.
But if you have that going against you, you at least have the gear, and the gear has improved so much more, and Jeff can speak to that a lot better. We're transitioning from just a UC conversation to a video-first conversation. Video-first, getting past the emails. That's what's important. The email that originally went out was great. Getting now a video email, not only is it a seeing thing, but for the generation and for hiring and for doing all that, the generation that's coming in, they're TikTokers. They're I call them like a FaceTime generation. My kids will turn a camera on for calling me about something that could be done on a text.
Right. Catches you off guard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There we go. and that's where we're at right now, is that there's that acceptance, the quality has gotten better, and the requests are coming in, and we're starting to see more and more broadcast, enterprise, media, entertainment, everything kind of mashed together, and it's to be honest, it's quite nice to finally see what we dreamed of 10 years ago happening, finally happening. So.
It's accelerated so fast, hasn't it, actually? And as you just touched on, productions are, their expectation is rising, and we talked about this in the last show as well. How are organizations upgrading their AV infrastructure to meet those standards, and what should you see providers be watching out for?
Yeah, I mean, at this show, what we're seeing a big trend in, and what we're marketing with our AV integrators and solution providers, is power over Ethernet. So there's so many devices that can appeal to AV integrators that can all land on a switch. So the infrastructures are lighter, easier to manage. It appeals, like I said, to that AV integrator market. It's also about the users. We've all got the phone, the iPads. We've all been trained on how to do media content creation inch by inch. So who can own this and do it themselves? It used to be sports control rooms and live television trucks. Those were very specialized, high-paid personnel to do all those and manage those interfaces. What we have now is people that have been watching it on YouTube, they're watching all the podcasts, and they're like, well, that's fair enough, I can manage that myself. So we're really seeing the democratization on price point as well as who's capable of being the controller or makers of the content.
And being an AV guy for 20 plus, almost 30 years, we've always loved to talk about AV as IT and IT as AV, and it's this great congregation, but I think it's really an amalgamation now of broadcast AV and IT, because IT forever will be the transport. It's the ones and zeros that get you out. Broadcast adds a level of quality that AV would stay at good enough and wouldn't get over that edge. Broadcast takes that next level, next step that AV has always been resistant to. I'll just put that webcam, it's fine. It's not fine anymore. So really, it's a perfect storm of a lot of different things affecting it, and we really see this push coming for AV, IT, broadcast kind of all together and turning out something unique.
I love the word amalgamation.
Thank you. I don't get to use it very often. My SAT scores were very low.
Well,
I just want to point that out.
So, but yeah, no. So with this transition and this amalgamation, if you will, I would assume that there's a bit of a learning curve. How would you say, and what would that learning curve be in terms of moving from traditional AV into broadcast level, and what are some of those biggest challenges, and what are some solutions and things that people should be taking into account?
But definitely answer this on a two-parter. Mine, I believe, is more cultural in mindset, right? You have to get past the way we did things and start moving into the way we're going to move into the future. And there's always that resistance. Once we get past that and the cultural issues based around that, and when I go about that, it's work-life culture, right? Can a person be productive remotely? Yes. Can a person look good remotely? Absolutely. Do they have to be in a fancy office with a window? I can do that remotely using a green screen. And green screen, for people from the first days of Zoom conferencing and Microsoft to what they are today, has been changed completely. It's much better now. So those are my 2 points. I'm sure Jeff has something he can add on the...
It's sort of what I said previously was, there's such a scale. It used to be, you have to be a professional and trained and get a degree in that or be in that industry for X amount of time to be qualified to do these things. But we're coming to this from the corporate side now. So there's IT and marketing groups. So advertising and all those type, personnel are starting to step into those roles. So they're used to, again, creating that content on a low level. As they add these layers to try to, we say this a lot, dress up your content, right? It used to be just a Zoom camera. How can I just go to the next layer? And it's not beyond anybody's capabilities or budgets. That's the thing. You sort of pick your price point and, as well as your experience, what you can handle. So that can vary greatly.
Yeah.
I like the saying, quite a lot of people say 2025, everyone's a broadcaster. Like, it's so true.
Yes.
Very true.
So let's talk about, you've touched on PoE, Power over Ethernet, so let's talk about some of the backbone of this convergence. So how do technologies like PoE or streaming protocols and purpose-built applications work together to elevate the quality that we're looking for?
Yeah, and again, we keep comparing that for where we started. This used to be a very expensive endeavor, and a lot of these things can be cloud hosted as well, and what you're doing is sort of merging from the ground up on-premise type solutions, but that middle layer of all of this we're talking about is ones and zeros, either Ethernet-based, network-based management of these things. So sometimes it's very simple and can be pre-scheduled, pre-advanced. Some of our partners are very utilitarian, can be self-driven by you, the host, can go in, hit the button and go live and stream it yourself. So it really is ubiquitous and hard to nail down to say it's this thread or that thread. It is pick your own adventure in a lot of these things.
We are still integrators at our core. Our job is to make the end user's experience better, easier, and simpler. We, as AV integrators for many years, were after the one-button press conference room.
Right.
Confidently, we can say we can deliver one-button press recording right now,
Right.
one-button press broadcast. We couldn't say that 10 years ago. And it required rolling out trucks and doing a bunch of stuff, and you couldn't do this from your home. So we're feeling pretty good that, that simplicity has been carried over, because as integrators, we can hide that from the end user and deliver a product that is simple on their end. They don't need 1,000 buttons on a panel in front of them anymore. They just hit the one thing to go, and then everything is magically done in the cloud, the mysterious cloud.
All automated.
Yes.
Well, we really appreciate all of the information that you shared. Where do you think it's going in the future, if we could, in 30 seconds?
Oh, that's very simple. It's in booth 443.
Okay, that's
4343. That's, hey man.
No, he's
You
good
asked a
at
question.
the broadcasting. Clearly, he knew what to
43,
say.
43. I said it again. There you go. I'm dropping promos right now.
What?
But yes, if you go, obviously, to our booth, we know. But where do you think the future is, Jeff?
I think we're going to continue to see the merging, and this show is a prime example. Who we're talking to is AV integrators that are willing to take on more of this content creation space, where it used to be, the AV integrators themselves would raise their hand and say, that's a broadcast solution that you need to go to. So we're really starting to see that engagement, and there's more AV integrators out there than there are broadcast integrators. So
Wonderful.
it's serving more folks.
Fantastic. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful party. And definitely be sure to check out the Midwich booth.
Yes.
So thanks so much.